KDJ's weekly picks on game day one are brought to you by Veolia and White Plains Hospital.
The march to the championship round is here. Actually, in some classes, in independent football, the championship is this weekend. We have those picks and a whole lot more brought to you this week on game day one by Veolia and White Plains Hospital. I want to thank them for their partnership and all they've done for athletics in Section 1. What a great fall this has been for our entire team at game day one. Let's take a look at our picks this weekend for our independent schools and our small school championships, starting with Hackley. Hackley is playing for the MIFL, the MIFL Championship, on Saturday night at SUNY Purchase, a game you can watch on Local Live. I will be there. I am very excited about it. Hackley-Poly Prep. Hackley comes in at 8-0. Poly Prep 7-1. Two teams in a not very big league that somehow didn't play each other in the regular season. They square off for the title on Saturday night. Hackley, if you're going to look at matchups, you're going to try and match things up. Hackley beat Riverdale Country Day 2 weeks ago in the regular season finale. Handley beat them last week. This is a 68-16 margin, and Hackley and Riverdale Country Day is the only team to beat Poly Prep during the season. It's not always that simple, right? So on field, this is all about Poly Prep quarterback Connor Ego, who's in his third year starter this season, 1,250 yards passing, 15 touchdowns. He's a very capable runner. Can Hackley's defensive front contain him as they did against Riverdale Country Day, which was also a great offensive team, really solid quarterback? I like what I've seen out of Sam Sunnewick, the defensive lineman, left tackle, and defensive lineman for Hackley. I think that he ranks up there as any good two-way lineman as there is in this area. I think Hackley wins. I think they beat Poly Prep 27-20. They claim the MIFL Championship. They go undefeated. Head coach Joe McDermott done a great job these last 3 seasons getting this program to where it once was when he was a player, and for Coach Pickard back in the day. Moving on to the independent championship of Section 1 teams, Horace Greeley on the road at Tappan Z. Tappan Z, a lot of excitement in the program for TZ, and for good reason. They are on an absolute roll. They met in the regular season. TZ won that game 38-13. TZ has dominated the league so far, 8-0 in the year since losing to Pearl River in the first game. They've outscored their opponents by 31.3 points per game. They did beat Horace Greeley in the regular season. And the Quakers are going to be shorthanded. They're not going to have their quarterback, Julian Ash, who suffered a collarbone injury. So really felt terrible for Julian Ash. Had an outstanding season to get Greeley to this point. Hurt in the semifinals. I think TZ goes on and they win. We talked about Aiden Tofat last week and what he did in the semifinal win. I think Greeley is up against it with TZ. I think TZ is too much offense here. I think TZ wins this game 31-7 to claim the independent championship. Now, going into Class C, I don't see any upsets in these two Class C matchups in Section 1. I think Valhalla is absolutely rolling. I think they take care of Woodlands. They win their semifinal matchup, and they get to take on Putt Valley, which I think Putt Valley beats Dobbs Ferry this week. I think both games are going to be pretty decisive as we see these two teams going to meet. Now, Valhalla and Putnam Valley met last week in the regular season finale. Valhalla won that game 66-35, so a repeat in the championship, over 100 points. That'd be very interesting to see. Now, in the Class B, this is where things get really interesting in the Section 1 playoffs. Our first Class B matchup we'll talk about is Bronxville hosting Ardsley. Now, you look at Bronxville, look at their down the row of all their games this season. They have absolutely dominated with one exception, and that was the game against Ardsley. As we said, Bronxville, 4 touchdowns or more in every other game they won this season. The Ardsley game, 29-16, and that was on October 5th, and that was in the rain. That was kind of like a messy game, and that was a game that Ardsley, you look back at the tape, you could see that Ardsley really should have won this game. A fumble near the goal line. Was it a good call? Controversial. Bronxville escapes, and now you look at this Ardsley team. No team has had a schedule like Ardsley where they were in every single game. 7 of their 8 contests were decided by a touchdown or less. They split a lot of those games, but if you see the resolve of this team, it's definitely improved over the course of the season. They're a much tougher team, mentally tough. They're ready for close games. If they can keep this game close going to the fourth quarter, Bronxville hasn't played many close games, and it's totally going to favor Ardsley. And you look 2 weeks ago, they lose to Pearl River on the road. They come back the following week in the postseason. They beat Pearl River and another 14-13 game. I don't know if Bronxville is going to get beaten this game, but I think they're in for it. I think this is going to be a very difficult game for them. It's going to be all about whether they can run the football with Davis Patterson and the talent that they have around him. They're so good up front. Can Ardsley line up with this team again and slow them down and keep them contained? It's going to be very interesting to see. I think this is a very underrated game. It is on Saturday afternoon, the only game in Section 1 on the schedule on Saturday. in Class B. It should be really fun. I think Bronxville wins this game 27-20. I think in the end, Bronxville is they're just going to outman Ardsley, and I think they win. Just also the other thing about the first matchup, it was poor weather, and maybe that was a fact in that game as well. The other Class B matchup, very interesting one as well, crosstown rivals, Westlake taking on Pleasantville. They met 2 weeks ago. Westlake won the game 21-0. Final game of the season in Section 1. Really not much going into it. Pleasantville sort of knew going in where their seed was going to be. They were going to be the 4 seed. Westlake they needed to win to be the 1 seed. I don't think either of these two teams really showed each other much in this matchup. And for good reason, because here they are facing each other in the semifinal, trip to the championship on the line. Again, 21-0 win for Westlake. Westlake's defense has allowed 7 points total in the last 5 games, 4 shutouts, and then they allowed only 1 second-half touchdown to Sleepy Hollow. Again, they won 41-7. They're winning that game 35-0. So really, that was kind of a little bit of a throwaway touchdown. This defense has been as good as any defense in the section. The only really competitive game that Westlake has played since their opener against Ardsley was against Pearl River. What did Pearl River do in that game to keep it close? They threw the football. They threw the football really well. 182 yards passing on 22 of 25 completions. The yards are one thing. The completion percentage is another. And obviously, TJ Lanise, the Pearl River quarterback, is very, very good. Can Pleasantville efficiently throw the football downfield? This is going to be the way they're going to have to do it. I know that they beat Byram Hills by running the football, getting in the Wildcat, running downhill against them in the second half, and really just wearing them out. The problem is Westlake is not Byram Hills. Westlake's a little deeper, a little bit bigger up front, a little stronger defensively, and also offensively, they are going to sustain drives like Byram Hills, which Byram Hills did not do at all. So this is going to be a very different game from what Pleasantville played last week, but I think it's going to be a little bit more similar to what they played 2 weeks ago. I think Westlake wins. I think they win 20-7, and they move on to the Class B championship. Those are my picks. Those are part 1 of my picks. The small school and the independent schools will come back with Class AA and A soon.